Be giving you some tree planting tips. These are just general tips, just generalized tips. Just remember that each type of tree has its own specific needs and requirements and its own characteristics. So first thing you'll want to do is pick a planting site. Where in your landscape are you going to plant your tree? So you're going to want to think about what your tree is going to look like down the road when it gets, towards full size. How tall is the tree going to be? How wide is the crown of the tree going to be? And what is its root system like? Does it have a nice deep root system, or does it have a shallow invasive root system that can crack foundations and buckle sidewalks? So you're going to want to think about those things. And also think about, is a tree evergreen, or does it drop its leaves in the fall? And definitely be sure to avoid planting your tree underneath power lines or too close to them, and also don't plant trees too close to your house either. So another thing that's going to dictate where you plant your tree is, what is a tree's sunlight needs? Does it need full sun? Does it need part sun? Or does it prefer full shade? So you're going to want to pay attention to where the shadows are in different parts of your yard or landscape, not only throughout the day, but also throughout the seasons, where your shadows are going to be and what parts of your yard are going to get the most sun. So each tree is going to have its own specific watering needs and sunlight needs. Most trees do better in full sun, but there are plenty of trees that like partial sun, some shade. So you want to think about that. You'll also want to pick a site that most trees prefer well-draining soil. Most trees don't like areas that flood or that have standing water when it rains. And also the soil type can be important for some types of trees. Other trees aren't so picky. So you're going to want to do your homework and find out the specific requirements and needs of your tree. And the most important thing to consider for your tree is, what climate zone are you in? The plant hardiness zone. Is the tree going to survive where you live? Is the climate right? So that'll be important, especially if you're buying from an online nursery that's not in your immediate area. So once you've selected your planting site, you're going to want to dig a hole that is bigger than the root ball. So you're going to want several inches to each side and beneath where the root ball is going to be in the ground. If you buy a tree with a root plug like this one here, you want to make sure that you don't bend the roots. You don't want to do any J rooting. You're going to want to keep the roots straight in the shape that they come in. And you definitely want to make sure you have loose soil all around the root ball once you plant it in the ground, so that the roots have a place to go. They don't have to fight through, solid, hard compacted soil to take root. Now, given that most trees do like well-draining soil, a good idea is to mix a little bit of sand with your planting soil. And the best time to plant is in early spring or early fall, when the temperatures aren't too extreme. So once you've planted your tree, be sure not to compact the soil too much around the root ball where you've filled in the hole. Well, now that your tree is planted, you're going to want to make sure to take good care of it, especially in its first few years of life. They tend to be a little pickier and a little more fragile. Most trees prefer deep waterings, not too frequent though. One of the reasons for that is it will help encourage a deep root system. You do not want to overwater, so you don't want to do frequent shallow waterings. And you don't want it to, most trees don't like it to stay, overly wet for long periods of time. Do your homework on the type of tree that you have to verify exactly what its watering needs are. It may also be a good idea, if you have deer where you live, to put some chicken wire around your tree or some deer fencing so that a deer doesn't come along and eat your tree up. So if the type of tree that you have is frost sensitive, you're gonna want to take some measures to protect your young tree during harsh, cold winter nights. You know, and the roots tend to be a little sensitive, so you could also put some mulch or some leaves or straw or something around the base of the tree, and that will actually also help hold in moisture when you water your tree, so you don't have to water it as much. So particularly during the hot summer months, that might be a good idea. Put something around it, you know, like straw or something, or leaves. And during the hot summer months, just be sure to check the soil moisture. Just stick your finger in there and see if it's dry pretty far down, and give it a water if it needs it. So you want to pay attention to really hot days, and if the relative humidity is really low, the soil will tend to dry out quicker. Well, that about does it. So enjoy your tree and watch it grow.